Εμείς θα περάσουμε στην τελευταία εισήγηση για σήμερα. Έχουμε την παρουσίαση του χρυσού χορηγού Springer με τίτλο Trust Matters, Building an Understanding of the Publishing Process in an Open Science Environment. Εισηγητής είναι ο κύριος Arend Quester, Director Funder Relations, Springer Nature. Mr. Quester, we are ready. Thank you for being here.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much for having me here. Kalispera, everybody.
Kalispera, kalispera. We are ready. You can share your screen.
Yeah.
Great.
Let me just get this started. And now let's see whether the right screen, the correct screen will be shared. Just a second. No, I need to switch them. That's what I thought would happen. Oh, that isn't a big deal, but I've got to move this away. No, that's also not good. So which screen can you see now? Because I just lost the that. Can you just you see a screen without notes underneath, right?
I see the screen that writes trust, the title actually of the presentation. I think this is the cover.
Yeah, just the title of the presentation, nothing underneath, right?
Yes.
Oh, very good.
Okay.
Technology sometimes works. So thank you very much for having this presentation, and thank you for organizing it. And I'm so sorry we can't meet in person, because I would have loved to have come to Thessaloniki or anywhere else in Greece at this time of year. I work at Springer Nature as Director of Funder Relations, work mostly for Europe and the Middle East. So my backstory about that is that I joined Springer Nature in March 2018, oddly enough, in Shanghai in China, where I worked as Open Research Director. And I've been working in open science for many years in the Middle East and the UK, with the only really stable element were my summers on Tassos, where I didn't learn enough Greek, or certainly not enough librarian Greek, maybe more scuba diving Greek, but that's a different story. So my talk today is about trust, is about how we work as a publisher to bring trust into the open science arena, and how that is very important. So just as background, at Springer Nature, our mission is to help researchers to advance discovery. We want to make the findings as accessible, understandable, and discoverable as possible, and bring it all together by making it usable and reusable, as well as shareable as possible. So this is our approach to it, and we are working with our research communities and with research communities to achieve that goal. In terms of background of our open access footprint, we have a very comprehensive OA portfolio. So at this moment, 640 open access journals are with Springer Nature. This number goes up. These are the numbers from the end of last year. We publish over 100,000 gold open access articles in 2019, and I'm sure it's more this year. We still have got, or we have got 2,500 roughly, or below 2,200 hybrid journals with the option to publish open access. And a lot of these journals, I think almost all of them, will go to transformative journals. We publish open access books, 850 in 2019, and possibly 70 Springer Nature orders from within 4 European countries, the UK, Netherlands, Sweden, and Austria, are now publishing via the gold open access route through the transformative agreements which we have in these countries. And last but not least, 25% globally of all immediate open access articles globally are published from Springer Nature. This actually translates to about 30% of our output, and one of our goals and our concerns, and what we wonder about every day, what I certainly wonder about every day, is how can we move this towards 100% open access? And trust is one of the key elements of moving towards a more open access future for us. So I went to the Oxford English Dictionary and looked at what does trust mean? What do we mean with trust? It's to have faith, in a person, quality, or a thing to rely on. It's if it's more transitive, it's to rely on the truthfulness of evidence. So we've got to earn the trust of our research communities that what we publish is truthful and has got proper evidence. We need to keep everything safe. So we archive things, we make sure everything is available for a long, long time, forever, actually, in open access. So you can entrust us with our research and to have faith and confidence that what you're doing, what you are giving us to look after, the research results and the journals which we publish, is something you can have faith and confidence in, that what we publish is correct and works. Why do authors want to publish in our journals? Well, one of the reasons is that they all wonder, does my article, does my research look big in this thing? Does it reach a lot of researchers? And they want to build up the trust around that. Building trust in academic publishing is key to success. Who do you trust and why? And this is something which we are always work towards and which we are always trying to do. So there is history, which builds up trust, which of course Nature is a very old journal, has been going on for a long time and has been publishing for a long time, is something which people trust, and we have to earn that trust every day. It's also got to deal with reputation and brand. So publishers have a certain reputation, which we want to maintain, which we want to keep. We have got editors and editorial boards to work with, colleagues and recommendation and experience, rejection rates. All of these are signs of the trust and people put into us. It is important to see that we have rejection rates, we publish citations, we distribute the research all across the world, and you can look at the reputation in other publishers as well before you think about submitting to a journal, whether they've got the membership in all the right organizations, whether they can be trusted. We are also having this intrinsic network between reference, citations, and journals. So we link into an active global information infrastructure. We manage those links, we manage those citations and preferences, and the personal recommendations. We speak to indexing and abstracting services to work with us on the discovery and of the articles, so we can really work out how that readership works out. We also manage usage and downloads, as you all know. This is important to us, and this is important to our readers and our communities to see whether their research reached the right people. Important to build this trust is that we generate an active community. People like these clownfish, they like to be in a certain space where they know they are safe, where they know they can be active, and where they know they reach other researchers. So we need active editors and editorial boards, and we work very hard to keep them active and engaged. But we also need the readership and the publisher service and the librarians active in this quest and tailor these journals so they fit a particular community. Now, these particular communities can be very large journals like scientific reports, but they also can be very, very specialized journals, like journals which are just active in a very, very particular area of research. In order to do that, we are concerned about process and policies. And the peer review process is something which we manage. And in some of our journals, like the Nature family of journals, we're actually doing a lot of internal reviews because we actually employ about 183 in-house editors with a PhD to manage these things for us. So process and policies means we need to have an effective production process, and we need to move a manuscript across the different stages of the publishing process. So we start with an author's original, then we have a submitted manuscript, which is then under review. We have an accepted manuscript, we have a proof, and we have a version of record. This version of record is something which we have to manage, so it become a corrected version of record, and it will become an enhanced version of record. And in the worst cases, it also can become a retracted version when we have to take it offline when the research isn't right. This unfortunately happens because we are all humans and we all make mistakes. We try to limit them, but that's the way it is. We also have to build trust in open access. For us, open access publishing is not different. The workflow is not different from subscription journals in terms of quality standards and the peer review processes. They are all the same, they all operate in the same way, but they do have a significant impact. So we have 1.6 more citations, we've got 4 times downloads, we've got 2 times 5 more altmetrics attentions, and 1.9 more news mentions, as well as 1.2 more policy mentions. So it is really important that open access is in no way inferior to any other way we publish journals. We actually made sure that our processes are the same whether it's a subscription journal or an open access journal. So all of that must be done very transparently as well. We also, what publishers do and how we want to earn trust is we want to innovate. So we want to innovate with the technology that moves, changes and evolves. Integration of preprints, for instance, is a big element at the moment. Lay summaries so people can understand it, infographic, video, audio elements, even artificial editing, artificial intelligence and editing of articles is something we work in, or open peer review. It's another thing which we find very interesting and we are experimenting with. All of that is innovation, which is done in dialogue with the librarians, with the research community, and with everybody else. One of the most tricky things in publishing is also dealing with difficult decisions. Research ethics and research integrity is something which is really, really important. We even have an own department which looks after this. So sometimes we get in a fight and you don't know who is in the fight, and we have got to be a referee in that fight. So we have to defend the version of record. We have to uphold academic standards and ensure that processes are not biased. Sometimes we've got to be sure that funders don't meddle in that process. If they fund a journal, we keep the editorial and the publishing process very separate and make sure that our editors are free from commercial pressures, so they can really just make sure that the best research or the right research gets published in the right journal. Articles are curated and managed, and I believe, and we believe very strongly, that they should not be the end point of a research. They live on, so research can be built upon as a result. The last important thing for us really is people. People is what holding publishing together, and publishing is a people business. So worldwide, there are about 110,000 people who work in scientific and STM publishing, plus 20 to 30,000 people indirectly. And in terms of cost, what is important is that intangible cost which we have. We are not printers, we are not PDF producers. It's the editorial activities, it's the policies, it's the development, the marketing and the market-facing roles that we are talking with the communities, which is really driving up the cost. And all of that is something which is important to us and which makes publishing interesting. We also have got various efforts to make sure that diversity and inclusion are integrated in the way we work, so we don't bias, so we have the right set of people, and this is something we try to live up every day when we wake up, in a way. So just looking a little bit into the future and out at the sea, so there is a open science conversation. And I usually describe the open science conversation, which keeps us engaged, in a couple of pillars. So you have the open access part, that is an important part, but it's not the entire conversation which we need to be having. There is fair data, and fair means findable, accessible, interoperable, and reproducible. This is making sure that the data is published together with the article and that the readers can trust the research and redo the experiment and have all the data available to make sure the articles are correct. And the third element of that is what we call citizen or public science, outreach. How do we talk to the public about science, especially in this time at the moment with the pandemic? The public engagement in science is something which is really, really important and which is really important for researchers to do. We've got three things which run across that. One is metrics. We've got to measure the openness. We've got to measure the fair data and the citizen and public science elements of a researcher, which is he or she is doing. They all want to know about impact. Universities want to know about impact. How important has that research been? How important is it what I funded? And when I say impact, I do not mean impact factor. Impact is much, 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 much more than just a citation in a group of journals. And we at Springer Nature, actually, we have signed the DORA Declaration of Research Assessment. So impact is something we can measure on SDGs, on, for instance, the Sustainable Development Goals, whether the research funded had an impact on moving those along. So there are very, very different sources what measures impact at the moment. And the third really important element of that is credit. How does credit run through this? It's an important measurement to make sure that scientists and researchers get the right credit for the research which is being funded. And just an example, there's so much going on in these areas. We could probably talk about this little graph for more than 20 minutes. But reputation and brand and open access is important, process and important, innovation. I just want to talk about in review and working with preprints, which is something we are doing. We have a pilot with ResearchGate, and we have partner journals with BMC, with Springer, with Palgrave, where we are working to activate the common communities around. So sometimes progress still can be slow and iterative, and that's the way it is. It doesn't move extremely fast. We are trying to innovate every day and trying to get better every day. And finally, I want to leave you with one more thought at the end of your day. And one thing which is very important, I run this quite often in China. And in China, it works even better. But in Greece, I found out, it works particularly well as too. So ORCID is a really important element, and we are all publishers are part of that. And what ORCID does, it gives a researcher a very unique number, so you can assign all the researcher's output, all the data, all the articles, everything the researcher produces to a particular researcher. And why is this important? Well, in China, we have about a lot of one-ways, but when I go to Greece, we actually have, I call them Yorgo Papadopoulos. We have got quite a lot of them. They are everywhere. They are growing up everywhere. They are living everywhere, and they are doing an awful lot of research. So I think we have got about 17 in ORCID database. In dimensions, we've got 28. And how do we know which Yorgo Papadopoulos is Yorgo Papadopoulos, the heart surgeon or the cardiologist, or which one is Yorgo Papadopoulos, the physicist and high energy physicist? So we have got to distinguish these people from each other. So we assign the right Yorgo Papadopoulos to the right research area. And this is the same in China. We have got over 1,001 ways. We've got a lot of John Smith in the databases. In other countries, we have got a lot of Khans. Or if you go to South Korea, we have a lot of Kims. So imagine you stand in Greece and you shout Alexandros, and half of the village comes to you, especially when it's the name day for it. So really important that everybody gets an ORCID and signs up for this. It's very easy to do. You scan the QR code, you register on the email address, you add your info, and it takes about 3 minutes. It's so easy, and it's might be the most important thing I might have told you doing this talk. Get an ORCID so you get yourself distinguished. It's important for everybody, for every researchers all over the world. Moving to the end, at Springer Nature, what we want to do, we actually want to work, we want to experiment, we want to work, and we want to find the fastest and effective route to immediate open access with our research communities. We want to listen to you, and I'm sorry that I probably won't have time for questions, but I'm very much looking forward to getting your questions by email. So we can listen and support to the Greek research communities in your transition, address that, work with you on that. We want to make the version of record openly available as much as we possibly can. Look for other areas of cooperation. Is there something we can do in terms of fair data and research assessment, SDGs, or amplifying your research through our journalism? You have that on Nature and on Scientific American and on Spektrum der Wissenschaft. We want to build trust with funders, institutions, librarians, and researchers. This doesn't work overnight. And really support the global community in their quest to find the right research, and also make sure that we are all aware of unintended consequences of the global impact of mandates, of policy, because we work in Europe, we work in US or China, and there's nothing like German mathematics or English physics or Chinese medicine. Well, there is Chinese, let's say, Chinese cardiology. There's just cardiology, there's biology, there's medicine, and there are the global communities who work solving these problems together. And this is something which we want to facilitate and help with. If you like to get in touch, I'd love to hear from you. I like to have real tea or real coffee or virtual tea or virtual coffee. My email address is here. You can reach me there, and thank you very much.
Mr. Questor, thank you very much for your presentation. Really enjoy, and we do have many Yorgos Papadopoulos, the truth is. Yes, and I really don't know whether the Greek names or the Chinese are difficult to pronounce, actually.
They're all difficult. They're both difficult.
Yes, we do know. But tomorrow we have a presentation of the Greek consortium ORCID. So we will have this opportunity to learn more about ORCID that you've already mentioned. I would like to thank you for your presence, for your presentation. Unfortunately, we don't have time for any question, but we have the Springer booth on our website. So with any information, contact information, etc. So you had also your email here. So if anyone wants to reach you, he can find you through your email. I would like to thank you again for your time and for your presentation.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here. And yeah, I mean, this is going to be my last thing of this year. So I'm going to shut down my computer for the holidays later on today. So
I hope you enjoy your vacation.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Γεια σας.